Imagine a marvel of engineering, a cutting-edge submarine christened RAN, dispatched to unlock the secrets hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. But almost as soon as it began transmitting its discoveries, silence. It vanished, swallowed by the icy depths. What fate befell this underwater explorer? Our story begins with a team of scientists driven to explore one of the most isolated and enigmatic environments on our planet. The Dodson Ice Shelf, a colossal expanse of frozen water in West Antarctica. This silent giant, a frozen continent in its own right, stretches for an incredible 30 miles. That's a distance comparable to the entire length of New York City. Wedged between the Martin and Bear Peninsulas, it guards a hidden world of geological wonders. Forget the image of Antarctica as a monotonous, snow-covered wasteland. Beneath the surface lies a dynamic and complex landscape. The underside of the Dodson Ice Shelf is a rugged terrain sculpted by the patient, unrelenting forces of nature. Here, towering ice formations rise from the depths, deep troughs carve pathways through the ice, and bizarre structures stretch for hundreds of feet. This alien world has ignited the curiosity of scientists worldwide. But as you can imagine, exploring this subglacial realm is no easy task. Initial attempts involved scanning the area from space with satellites or drilling through the thick ice, painstakingly piecing together a comprehensive picture. However, these methods yielded only vague clues. The true breakthrough came with the audacious idea of deploying submarines. Autonomous submersibles, capable of plunging into the frigid waters beneath the Dodson Ice Shelf, promised to reveal the secrets hidden below. These robotic explorers are equipped with advanced sonar systems. Think of it as the echolocation used by bats and dolphins. They navigate and see using sound. The principle is simple. The submersible emits sound waves that travel through the water. When these waves encounter an object, whether the ice shelf above or the seafloor below, they bounce back. By analyzing the time it takes for the sound waves to return and how their properties change, the system can determine the location, size, and shape of objects. For example, the clicks emitted by dolphins allow them to pinpoint the location of fish with incredible accuracy. We have adopted this ingenious evolutionary adaptation and refined it for underwater exploration. Our version, however, boasts a far greater level of precision. This allows us to create detailed maps of the subglacial environment. The Ran submarine, named after the Norse goddess of the sea, was one such robotic explorer. It was meticulously programmed to navigate the treacherous and unforgiving landscape of Antarctica. Yet despite its advanced technology and careful preparation, its mission would end in an unexpected and unsettling mystery. In 2019, RAN was deployed to explore the uncharted depths beneath the Dodson Ice Shelf. It was a pioneer, the first of its kind to undertake such a daring mission. The team likened it to seeing the other side of the moon. For 27 continuous days, it operated tirelessly, traversing over 620 miles beneath the thick ice. That's a distance equivalent to a journey from Paris to Berlin. RAN ventured further and deeper than anyone had previously imagined. At one point, it penetrated over 10 miles into the glacier's underbelly. The discoveries it transmitted back were astonishing. Scientists had anticipated smooth, uniform ice surfaces, but RAN revealed an underside scarred by massive cracks and ridges. It found formations resembling sand dunes, frozen in time. And, perhaps most intriguing of all, it detected mysterious swirling and teardrop-shaped patterns. These formations seemed more like works of art than geological features. These swirling patterns tell a story of the dynamic interaction between the ice shelf and the ocean. Warm water infiltrates beneath the ice, melting it from below. This process can sometimes create smooth surfaces, but often it carves out bizarre, uneven shapes that resemble patterns and drawings. Some of these formations are truly immense, exceeding 1,300 feet in length. That's about 3.5 football fields. The swirling doodle-like appearance of these formations is due to the Earth's rotation. This rotation induces a phenomenon known as the Coriolis effect, which causes the water to move in specific patterns, bending the shapes and creating spirals. Imagine yourself on a merry-go-round, attempting to throw a ball. Imagine a ball thrown not straight ahead, but with a spin. It curves, defying a direct path. Similarly, water currents on Earth don't always flow in predictable lines. Years later, scientists observing Antarctic ice shelves discovered similar patterns, though none quite as dramatic as those sculpted beneath the Dodson Ice Shelf. But there was a dark side to this discovery. These warm waters, it turns out, are not just artistic sculptors. They pose a significant threat. The Dodson Ice Shelf isn't simply a serene, floating platform. It's a vital component of a delicate ecosystem, acting as a crucial barrier that restrains massive glaciers in West Antarctica. Though floating on the ocean, the ice shelf remains connected to the land. As warm water infiltrates beneath it, melting the ice from below, the Dodson's grip on the land weakens. This protective barrier begins to fail, allowing the glaciers behind it to accelerate their movement into the ocean. When these colossal glaciers slide into the sea, they displace vast amounts of water, potentially causing a rise in sea levels that could reshape coastlines worldwide. The team stumbled upon enormous pockets where the ice was vanishing at an alarming rate, all thanks to these powerful underwater currents. It was akin to witnessing a time bomb ticking beneath the glacier. The stakes were incredibly high. Fortunately, the submarine was prepared for the challenge. This time, it successfully returned, and for the next 5 years, it provided scientists with a wealth of invaluable data. These missions were fraught with peril. There were stretches where the submarine, nicknamed Ran, plunged into the absolute darkness of the cavities beneath the glaciers, enduring 24-hour periods with no communication. Yet, it meticulously mapped every peak and valley, accumulating experience from over 40 daring missions beneath the ice. Then, in early 2024, Ron embarked on a mission to the Thwaites Glacier. From the outset, this mission was audacious. This location is also ominously known as the Doomsday Glacier. Its chilling moniker stems from its gradual melting and the potential for catastrophic sea level rise if it were to collapse entirely, unleashing devastation across the globe. That's why Ran was tasked with exploring its underbelly, a region never before mapped with such precision. The objective was to unlock the glacier's secrets, to understand the rate at which it was melting and the underlying causes. This marked Ran's second foray into the Thwaites Glacier. During its initial visit, it achieved the distinction of being the first submarine to ever map the glacier's underside. Ran probed depths ranging from 650 feet to an astonishing 1,650 feet, transmitting copious data on the Doomsday Glacier's gradual disintegration due to the intrusion of warm ocean currents. However, while navigating these frigid depths, disaster struck. Without warning, Ran vanished, leaving no trace. One moment it was relaying critical data, the next it had disappeared into the abyss. There were no distress signals, no final transmissions, and it failed to return to its designated rendezvous point. A massive search operation was launched. Helicopters buzzed overhead, and drones scoured the frozen skies, but no sign of the submersible emerged from the glacier's icy grip. Eventually, Ran's batteries would have depleted. At this point, it had undoubtedly been swallowed by the abyss beneath 1,500 feet of ice. This represented a profound and heartbreaking loss for the scientific community. Researchers at the University of Gothenburg are now seeking a replacement for Ran to continue this vital research beneath the Thwaites Glacier. To this day, scientists remain baffled by its fate. Some speculate that it may have become trapped within the ice itself. Others believe it was swept away by an unforeseen current. It could also have collided with an unexpected obstacle. Whatever the truth may be, its disappearance has left the scientific world reeling, and it seems the ice shelf will guard its secrets a little longer. Despite this loss, the data acquired during Ran's missions represents a treasure trove of knowledge. Scientists persist in their exploration of Antarctica, eager to uncover the history concealed beneath the snow. For instance, they discovered that approximately 90 million years ago, imagine a time when lush, temperate rainforests thrived in the shadow of the South Pole. Scientists exploring the Antarctic continent made a startling discovery that reshaped our understanding of Earth's ancient climates. They unearthed a treasure trove of fossilized roots, pollen grains, and spores, perfectly preserved within the soil. This evidence painted a picture of a vibrant, swampy rainforest, teeming with life that flourished despite enduring months of perpetual polar darkness. These remarkable finds revolutionized our comprehension of Earth's climatic history and offer profound insights into potential future climate scenarios. Now let's dive into a completely different world, the interior of a submarine. These incredible vessels are engineered to withstand immense pressures at staggering depths, but it's not always the colossal marine creatures that pose the biggest challenges. Sometimes, the tiniest stowaways can create the biggest headaches. Before embarking on a deep-sea voyage, submarines are stocked with vast quantities of provisions, canned goods, frozen meals, and a selection of fresh produce, often including a generous supply of potatoes. But here's the catch. Hidden amongst those sacks of potatoes, a few fruit flies might be lurking, eager to hitch a ride and establish a new colony far beneath the waves. The submarine is sealed tight, and the crew of roughly 180 sailors sets off, completely unaware of the minuscule intruders about to unleash chaos. Once those fruit flies begin to reproduce, there's virtually no stopping them. Within days, the first signs of their presence appear in the crew mess area. Initially, they might seem like a minor nuisance, but their numbers explode exponentially. Soon, countless fruit flies are buzzing around tables and television screens, creating an increasingly unpleasant environment. Within a few more days, the situation spirals. The submarine becomes infested with a swarm of beige flies, making it nearly impossible to enter the trash room without wearing a protective mask for fear of inhaling the insects. The chief culinary specialist desperately tries to combat the infestation with a handheld vacuum cleaner, but they are fighting a losing battle. The crew endures weeks of this, eagerly anticipating the moment when the fresh food runs out, allowing them to finally purge the storage rooms. Finally, a plan is hatched to carefully dispose of the trash and thoroughly clean the infested area. This begs the question, what happens to the waste generated on a submarine? These remarkable underwater vessels have two options: store the trash on board or release it into the ocean depths. With over 100 individuals on board, the amount of refuse produced, candy wrappers, empty sacks, plastic packaging, and more, is substantial. The designated area for waste disposal is known as the trash disposal unit, essentially a long tube equipped with a ball valve that opens to the outside ocean. Crew members deposit their trash into specialized metal canisters, seal them tightly, and then, with a splash, release them into the abyss. The canisters sink to the ocean floor, joining the countless other discards that litter the deep. Daily life aboard a submarine is undeniably unique. Even mundane tasks like laundry are far from ordinary. The water supply system is particularly interesting. Since seawater is unsuitable for washing machines, it undergoes a purification and desalination process. The resulting water is then used for laundry, showers, and even in the kitchen taps. Each crew member receives a personalized laundry bag and participates in a rotating schedule to operate the washing machines. Storing and disposing of trash are just some of the many unusual aspects of daily submarine life. Now, imagine drawing a line connecting Bermuda, Puerto Rico, Miami, and then back to Bermuda. What shape do you get? The infamous Bermuda Triangle. This region has been notorious for centuries, swallowing countless ships and aircraft without a trace. But a new mystery is brewing within this already enigmatic place. Something lurks in the deep waters below, leaving behind bizarre clues to its existence. Splash! Your submarine breaches the water's surface. Now, you begin your descent. 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet. The darkness intensifies. The submarine's hull groans and creaks under the mounting pressure. Imagine the crushing pressure, over 2,400 psi. That's akin to a grand piano bearing down on every square inch of your body, an unrelenting squeeze from all directions. But you've arrived. You're at your destination, deep in the ocean's abyss. Now, the mission: to locate the enigmatic creature. And there, in the inky blackness, a beacon appears, a vibrant green glow piercing the darkness. It's drawing nearer, growing larger with each passing moment. This is it, the moment of truth. This is the creature responsible for those peculiar circular markings found on fish, dolphins, whales, and even other sharks. Behold the cookie-cutter shark, Cystius brasiliensis. Don't let its diminutive size deceive you. Though it may be no longer than a bowling pin, this creature is a true parasite of the deep. It employs its neatly arrayed, serrated teeth to latch onto larger, marine animals. With a single precise bite, it gorges itself, detaches, and continues its journey. Its unwitting host swims away, bearing the mark of the encounter, a telltale cookie-shaped wound. But don't think you're entirely safe within the confines of your submarine. These audacious little predators have been known to target subs as well. Discretion becomes the better part of valor, and you decide against risking a breach in your submersible's hull. The crushing depths are unforgiving. You press on, deeper into the Bermuda Triangle, ready to encounter more of its bizarre inhabitants. At twice the previous depth, you find the dragonfish. Unlike many other denizens of the deep, dragonfish possess the unique ability to produce light in the infrared spectrum. While most fish rely on blue and green light, the dragonfish has carved a niche for itself, bathing its surroundings in a light imperceptible to many. This grants the dragonfish, Stomiidae, a significant advantage both in hunting and evading predators. Creatures that might prey on the dragonfish are unable to detect its infrared glow, and the smaller organisms that the dragonfish consumes remain blissfully unaware of the impending danger. Another truly unique denizen of these depths is the vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis. Despite its name, it's neither a true vampire, nor a squid, nor an octopus. This creature represents a unique species all its own. It boasts the largest eyes relative to its body size of any animal on Earth. When threatened, the vampire squid performs a remarkable defensive maneuver, curling its arms up and around its body, effectively turning itself inside out, shielding its vulnerable parts. Yet another creature to avoid in this underwater realm is the terrifying bobbit worm, Eunice aphroditois. This ambush predator buries itself in the seafloor, leaving only a small portion of its body exposed. It patiently awaits the opportune moment, its pincer-like mouth agape. What's on the menu? Other worms and fish that can be up to 7 times larger than the bobbit worm itself. The bobbit worm utilizes its 5 antennae to sense when prey is within striking distance. In a lightning-fast strike, the worm lunges forward, seizing its victim with its powerful jaws. But the ordeal isn't over yet. Once it has secured its grip, the worm injects a potent venom, paralyzing its prey before dragging it down into its burrow for a secluded feast. A truly terrifying predator lurking in the depths. One of the deepest trenches within the Bermuda Triangle is known as the Tongue of the Ocean. This underwater canyon serves as a secret breeding ground for tiger sharks, Galeocerdo cuvier. These formidable predators are easily identifiable by the distinctive darker gray stripes adorning their flanks. They rank as the second largest predatory shark species, surpassed only by the great white. And with their impressive size comes an equally impressive appetite. Marine mammals, smaller sharks, stingrays, and green sea turtles all find themselves on the tiger shark's menu. Should you ever find yourself face to face with a tiger shark, an encounter best avoided, remember this. You can estimate the shark's age by observing its stripes. The stripes tend to fade over time, meaning that younger sharks display more pronounced and vibrant markings. The Bermuda Triangle teems with zooplankton, microscopic organisms vital to the ocean's food chain. But consider this. If these organisms were left unchecked, free to multiply without predation, they would envelop the entire world in layers upon layers within a mere 4 months. An astounding testament to the delicate balance of the marine ecosystem. And the largest form of zooplankton? The jellyfish. Jellyfish predate the dinosaurs by eons. You're likely aware that the human body is composed of roughly 60% water. A jellyfish, however, consists of a staggering 95% water. Thus, if a jellyfish washes ashore, exposed to the elements, it will essentially dissolve, leaving little more than a trace of its former self. Imagine, if you will, water transforming before your very eyes. Moisture rises from the ocean's surface, becoming vapor that vanishes into the vast expanse of the sky. Now, picture a creature defying the very laws of life itself, the immortal jellyfish. This remarkable being possesses the astonishing ability to revert back to its polyp stage, essentially hitting the reset button on its life cycle, only to grow again anew. It sounds like something ripped from the pages of science fiction, but this incredible creature is no alien invader. Speaking of space, jellyfish have indeed ventured beyond our atmosphere. Back in the 1990s, NASA conducted experiments, raising jellyfish in the weightlessness of space to observe the effects of zero gravity. And astonishingly, they thrived. However, upon their return to Earth, these cosmic jellyfish struggled to readjust to our planet's gravity, a testament to the profound differences between our world and the cosmos. The European eel, while not a veteran of space travel, is an extraordinary globetrotter in its own right. These eels embark on epic journeys, traversing the vast Atlantic Ocean from Europe to the Sargasso Sea, a region intertwined with the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. As larvae, they drift through the ocean currents for up to 3 years, carried by the whims of the sea. What's more, the European eel is the chameleon of the sea, undergoing a stunning transformation in color over its lifetime, morphing from a translucent state to yellow and finally adopting a metallic silver sheen. Nocturnal and secretive, they are the perfect partners for those midnight raids on the refrigerator. Consider this: a colossal giant squid, exceeding half the length of a football field, once washed ashore on a Florida beach. Researchers speculate that this behemoth emerged from the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere near the enigmatic Bermuda Triangle. Giant squids are the undisputed champions of length among invertebrates, lacking any backbone. They also boast the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, each one rivaling the size of a soccer ball. Another fascinating creature lurking near the Bermuda Triangle is the starer's cave shrimp. These masters of concealment remained hidden from human eyes until 2011. Some female cave shrimps carry an astounding number of eggs. Scientists discovered one particular female burdened with approximately 2,000 eggs attached to her body, a true testament to maternal dedication. The Bermuda petrel holds the esteemed title of National Bird of Bermuda. It stands as the second rarest seabird on our planet. So rare, in fact, that it was believed to be extinct until a fortunate sighting in 1951, when a small colony was rediscovered on the island. Its cry is an eerie, haunting sound, capable of sending chills down your spine as it echoes across the waves. The Nassau grouper is a fish exclusively found along the coasts of South Florida and within the Bermuda Triangle. This cunning predator lies in wait, ambushing unsuspecting prey such as smaller fish, crabs, and lobsters. It employs a unique feeding strategy, inhaling its victims through its enormous mouth, functioning much like an underwater vacuum cleaner. But that's not all. The Nassau grouper possesses a remarkable defense mechanism. Similar to a chameleon, it can change its color when threatened, blending seamlessly into its surroundings by adopting lighter or darker shades of its natural hue. So, spotting a Nassau grouper is a matter of both luck and keen observation. Venture into the waters of the Bermuda Triangle, and you're likely to encounter the unmistakable hammerhead shark. These sharks utilize their iconic hammer-shaped heads to pin their favored prey, stingrays, against the ocean floor, securing a deadly grip. The unique shape of their heads also grants them exceptional vision, providing them with a nearly 360-degree view of their surroundings, both above and below. However, they do have a small blind spot directly in front of their snout. Don't let the unassuming appearance of the hawksbill sea turtle fool you. This creature will devour anything its bird-like beak can manage to grasp. Sea sponges, algae, and even venomous jellyfish. Much of its diet is considered inedible by most creatures, but the hawksbill's body fat can absorb the toxins and venom, allowing it to consume these dangerous meals without suffering any ill effects. Adding to the bioluminescent wonders of the Bermuda Triangle are the green glowworms. Despite their name, these are actually larvae. They emit a brilliant light from a specialized organ near their tail. This alluring light attracts smaller creatures, making them easy targets for the glowworms to capture and consume. While they appear rather ordinary most of the time, their behavior follows a remarkably precise schedule. Every third night after the full moon, during the summer months, at an exact time, the glowworms illuminate the waters with their captivating glow. But let's return to some of the more nightmarish inhabitants of the Bermuda Triangle, such as the goblin shark, Mitsukurina ostoni, often referred to as a living fossil. This title is well earned, as it represents the last surviving member of its ancient family. Averaging only about the length of your forearm, this shark is a relic of a bygone era, a chilling reminder of the ocean's ancient past. But observe closely. A potential meal ventures too near. In a flash, the shark's jaws explosively extend, seizing the hapless creature. Its teeth lock firmly, and with a swift motion, the jaws retract back into the shark's mouth. A chilling reminder, this creature shares our planet. Now, let us journey to a place devoid of time zones, where land masses vanish, and the sun graces the horizon only once annually. For over 4 centuries, ever since the reign of King Henry VIII, a multitude of explorers from across the globe have relentlessly pursued this elusive point, the North Pole. Some sought a northwest or northeast passage to the riches of China and the Indies, while others were driven by sheer curiosity to witness its enigmatic nature. In 1773, the British Royal Navy spearheaded the first scientific expedition aimed at the North Pole. Constantine Phipps bravely volunteered to command this daring mission. Navigating the treacherous, thick ice proved arduous for the 2 ships, necessitating towing by smaller vessels. Eventually, Phipps contemplated abandoning the ships altogether, confronted by an unbroken expanse of frozen sea. Yet fortune favored them as they broke free from the icy grip and retreated into the open sea, returning home without achieving their coveted objective. By 1882, the intrepid American explorer James Booth Lockwood had ventured closer to the elusive prize than any before him. Tragically, by this time, at least 750 souls across 42 expeditions had perished in their valiant attempts to reach the pole. Then, on September 7th, 1909, the New York Times trumpeted a sensational headline. Perry discovers the North Pole after 8 trials in 23 years. Robert E. Perry, an American explorer, boldly proclaimed his arrival at the North Pole in April of that very year. However, in an era of slower communications, the momentous news only reached New York by September. Remarkably, just a week prior to this celebrated headline, the New York Herald had unleashed its own front-page revelation. The North Pole is discovered by Dr. Frederick A. Cook. Cook, another ambitious American explorer, had disappeared into the Arctic wilderness for over a year, leading many to believe he had conquered the pole in April 1908, a full year ahead of Perry. The challenge, however, lay in substantiating these claims from that remote era. Unlike the South Pole, which rests upon stable land, the North Pole perpetually drifts on sea ice. Thus, leaving behind a flag or any tangible proof was an impossibility. A meticulously detailed travel diary, encompassing daily distances, celestial observations, and other crucial particulars, would have served as compelling evidence. Regrettably, neither Cook nor Perry could furnish such corroborating information. Consequently, each embarked on a fervent campaign to establish their honesty and credibility. Perry reigned as the recognized discoverer of the North Pole until 1988, when the National Geographic Society re-evaluated the available evidence and concluded that his records fell short of substantiating his claim. Cook's claim, on the other hand, remained neither proven nor disproven, shrouded in ambiguity. Sir Hubert Wilkins, an Australian-born British explorer, embarked on his maiden expedition to the North Pole in 1913. It was during this venture that he conceived the audacious idea of reaching the elusive goal by submarine. In 1931, he secured the loan of a specialized submarine, christened O-12, from the U.S. Navy. This ambitious mission harbored 2 primary objectives: to conduct scientific experiments while both afloat on the ice and submerged beneath it, and to ultimately reach the North Pole by traversing beneath the icy expanse. Their scientific agenda encompassed studying the weather patterns, meticulously measuring temperatures, and gathering water samples from both the surface and the ocean floor. The submarine entrusted to Sir Hubert's command, underwent extensive modifications at a shipyard in New Jersey. It was outfitted with cutting-edge scientific instruments, and its exterior was reshaped to facilitate navigation beneath the ice. On March 16th, the revamped submarine departed the shipyard, setting course for the Brooklyn Navy Yard in New York. However, even before it could navigate away from the Delaware River, unforeseen delays arose. A fierce snowstorm compelled them to seek refuge at the Philadelphia Navy Yard, and a subsequent stop was necessitated to replenish their fuel reserves. When the submarine was, imagine the scene. The submarine, christened Nautilus, is making its way into New York Harbor. But tragedy strikes. A young crew member, barely 27 years old, is lost overboard, swallowed by the unforgiving depths. A somber moment marking the vessel before its true journey even begins. The submarine, now bearing the weight of this loss, is officially rechristened Nautilus, a poignant connection to Jules Verne's literary masterpiece, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which served as the inspiration for its new name. Adding a touch of hopeful anticipation to the event, Jules Verne's own grandson was present to witness this symbolic renaming. Before embarking on their ambitious expedition, the crew put the Nautilus through rigorous trials off the rugged New England coast. But their preparations were plagued by delays and setbacks, pushing them 2 months behind schedule. Faced with mounting pressure, they made the bold decision to set a course directly for England. The Atlantic crossing proved to be a brutal test. Violent storms battered the submarine, testing the limits of its design and the crew's resolve. On June 13th, disaster struck again. The starboard engine gave out, succumbing to the relentless strain. And soon after, the port engine, pushed beyond its capacity, followed suit. Throughout this perilous voyage, Sir Hubert Wilkins, the expedition's driving force, maintained constant radio contact, relaying the submarine's position back to the United States. But with both engines dead, their situation became dire. A desperate SOS was transmitted into the ether, a plea for salvation amidst the vast ocean. On June 15th, a beacon of hope appeared on the horizon. The USS Wyoming, a colossal warship on a training cruise with naval cadets, answered the call. The Wyoming, a veritable giant of the seas, took the crippled Nautilus in tow, dragging it to Queenstown, Ireland. From there, the submarine was transported to Devonport, England, for extensive repairs. The repairs were a lengthy ordeal, compounded by the need to ship replacement parts from the United States. Time slipped away, and the expedition's timeline continued to unravel. But finally, the Nautilus was restored to seaworthiness. The crew then set course for Bergen, Norway, where they rendezvoused with the submarine's science officers and acquired vital equipment. Among the most significant additions in Bergen was a specialized diving chamber. This ingenious device allowed the scientists to deploy their instruments into the depths through a dedicated hatch, opening up new possibilities for underwater research. At long last, on August 5th, the Nautilus departed Bergen, its bow pointed north, towards the icy realm of the Arctic. But the gremlins of mechanical failure and treacherous storms continued to plague their progress. One particularly violent tempest tossed the submarine about like a toy, tilting it at alarming angles. Then, on August 19th, came the first sighting of their quarry, an imposing ice floe, a floating testament to the Arctic's frozen heart. For days, they shadowed the ice's jagged edge, searching for an opportune location to attempt a dive. 3 days later, the moment arrived. But as they prepared to submerge beneath the ice, a shocking discovery was made. The submarine's diving rudders were missing. A diver braved the frigid waters to investigate, finding evidence that the rudders had been deliberately broken off. A chilling realization crept over Wilkins. Sabotage. Someone within the crew, perhaps distrustful of the mission's goals or fearful of the risks, had sought to undermine their efforts. Even without the crucial rudders, Wilkins remained determined to salvage what he could of the scientific program. On the last day of August, they devised a daring workaround, forcing the Nautilus beneath a 3-foot-thick ice floe. By carefully flooding the ballast tanks and adjusting the trim, they managed to execute several successful dives, gathering valuable data despite the treacherous conditions. But with each passing day, the dangers mounted. After a few more attempts at research, Wilkins made the difficult decision to abandon the expedition. The risks were simply too great. On September 8th, battered and bruised, the Nautilus limped into Svalbard, the Norwegian archipelago nestled between mainland Norway and the North Pole. They had weathered the worst storm of the entire voyage, but the damage was extensive. Their original plan was to return to a port in England, but another fierce storm struck, crippling the engines beyond immediate repair. They were forced to seek refuge in Bergen once more. Finally, after securing permission from the United States Shipping Board, the Nautilus's fate was sealed. On November 13, 1931, the submarine was towed out of Bergen and deliberately sunk in a Norwegian fjord, its journey brought to an end. But the name Nautilus would rise again, phoenix-like, from the depths of history. In 1958, a new U.S. submarine, bearing the same illustrious name, achieved the impossible. It became the first vessel to reach the North Pole by navigating beneath the Arctic ice cap. This new Nautilus was a leviathan compared to its predecessor. Measuring 319 feet in length and displacing a staggering 3,590 tons, it dwarfed the original Nautilus, which was a mere 175 feet long. Unlike conventional submarines, the new Nautilus possessed a revolutionary atomic engine, granting it unprecedented endurance. It could remain submerged for extended periods, requiring no air and consuming only a minuscule amount of nuclear fuel. On July 23, 1958, the Nautilus embarked on Operation Sunshine, departing from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, with a complement of 116 souls. Commander Anderson, 111 officers and crew, and 4 civilian scientists. The Nautilus plunged north, navigating the treacherous waters of the Bering Strait. It surfaced only once, at Point Barrow, Alaska, before continuing its underwater odyssey. On August 1st, the submarine slipped beneath the icy waves off the northern coast of Alaska, poised to make history. Imagine a world of daring exploration, pushing the boundaries of human achievement. Picture this: a submarine, a silent hunter of the deep, diving beneath the crushing weight of the Arctic ice cap. This vessel, a marvel of engineering, slipped beneath the frozen expanse, navigating at a depth of 500 feet, with ice ranging from a mere 10 to a daunting 50 feet thick, looming above. At 11:15 p.m. on August 3rd, the submarine's commander, a man named Anderson, addressed his crew. His words, filled with purpose and conviction, echoed through the vessel. "For the world, our country, and the Navy, the North Pole." And with that, the Nautilus, a testament to human ingenuity, passed directly beneath the North Pole, a feat previously deemed impossible. This wasn't just a journey, it was a statement. The adventure didn't end there. On August 5th, the submarine resurfaced in the Greenland Sea, a triumphant return from the icy abyss. Just 2 days later, the vessel completed its historic voyage in Iceland, forever etching its name in the annals of exploration. But the story doesn't end with triumph. Let's turn our attention to another theater of human endeavor, a mission to map the vast, unforgiving landscape of Antarctica. Imagine the scene: a plane caught in a violent embrace with the unforgiving Antarctic terrain. The aircraft, once a symbol of hope and exploration, was now shattered into 3 massive pieces, strewn across a snow-covered hillside. Debris littered the landscape, a stark reminder of the fragility of human ambition in the face of nature's fury. The wings, torn asunder, lay scattered amidst the wreckage, while the main body of the aircraft was split in 2, a testament to the sheer force of the impact. Flames, fueled by spilled fuel, licked at the remnants of the plane, casting an eerie glow upon the desolate scene. From this maelstrom of destruction, a glimmer of hope emerged. 7 out of the 9 crew members, against all odds, had survived the crash. These men were part of the 1946 U.S. mission, a grand undertaking involving 13 ships, 23 aircraft, and 4,700 personnel, all tasked with mapping the Antarctic continent. Time was of the essence. They had a mere 2 months of summer before the brutal Antarctic winter descended upon them. The USS Pine Island, a key player in this ambitious endeavor, carried 3 seaplanes on its mission. One of these planes, christened George 1, bore a crew of 9 souls. Their initial 10-hour mission had been completed without incident. However, the second flight was fraught with peril from the start. The weather deteriorated, with stormy seas and dangerously low visibility. Despite the ominous conditions, they pressed on, driven by a thirst for exploration. Even the captain of Pine Island, eager to witness the unfolding adventure, joined the expedition. At the controls of George 1 was Ralph Frenchy LeBlanc, an experienced pilot unfazed by the treacherous weather. As the plane was tethered to small boats, monstrous waves threatened to rip it apart. The relentless force of the ocean battered the plane's metal hull, threatening to compromise its integrity. Faced with this challenge, the crew ingeniously attached 4 special rocket boosters, known as jet-assisted takeoff bottles, to aid the plane's ascent. After a grueling 5-mile run, the plane finally managed to lift off, only to be immediately engulfed in a blinding snowstorm. James Robbie Robbins, a mere 19 years old, was the radar operator on board. But don't let his age fool you. He had already logged 1,500 hours of experience flying these types of seaplanes. He once navigated through thick fog and clouds over Greenland for 9 hours, so he trusted his skills. The radar painted a clear picture. A mountain range lay a mere 20 miles ahead, and icebergs were scattered ominously across their path. The information was accurate, but it wasn't enough. The mission demanded that they fly low to capture detailed photographs for mapping purposes, a task rendered virtually impossible in the adverse weather. The pilot, recognizing the futility of their efforts, made the difficult decision to turn the plane around and head back to the ship. But fate had other plans. In an instant, the plane struck something hidden beneath the snow. A deafening bang reverberated through the aircraft, sending shockwaves through everyone on board. The crew later discovered that they had collided with a snow-covered ridge, a treacherous obstacle concealed from radar detection. The pilot and co-pilot reacted swiftly, desperately attempting to regain altitude, but it was too late. Mere seconds later, the fuel tank in the front of the plane exploded in a cataclysmic display of raw power. The initial impact with the ridge had likely ruptured one of the fuel tanks, causing highly flammable gas to leak. An electrical spark, or the intense heat from the plane's engines, could have ignited the volatile fumes, triggering the devastating blast that tore the aircraft apart. The pilot was trapped upside down in the burning wreckage, his body battered and broken. Other crew members suffered grievous injuries. Some were thrown clear of the wreckage, landing in the snow, while others managed to crawl from the mangled remains of the plane. The sheer force of the impact had erased their memories of the explosion and the initial collision. Despite their own injuries, the surviving crew members rallied together, their instincts for survival overriding their pain. They managed to extract the injured pilot from the burning debris, carefully placing him inside a sleeping bag in the relative safety of the plane's rear section. They then turned their attention to Frederick Williams, who was grievously wounded. They gently placed him on a piece of wreckage to immobilize him and wrapped him in blankets, desperately trying to keep him warm. Despite their valiant efforts, Williams succumbed to his injuries a few hours later, a tragic loss in the vast, unforgiving wilderness. Sadly, the navigator and the radio man also didn't survive the crash. Imagine the scene: a desolate, snow-covered landscape, the ghostly remains of a downed aircraft scattered across the frozen ground. 3 souls, survivors of a brutal crash, huddled together against the biting cold. Their meager comfort, a single blanket, forcing them into a desperate rotation, each taking turns in the warmer center. For the first 3 days, the elements unleashed their full fury. Relentless snowstorms blotted out the sun, casting the world in an oppressive, perpetual twilight. The crew, driven by primal instinct, began the grim task of scavenging the wreckage, searching for anything that could aid their survival. Near the mangled tail section of the plane, a glimmer of hope emerged. 3 hefty boxes of pemmican. This unappetizing concoction, a staple of emergency rations, was packed with the necessary nutrients to stave off starvation, though hardly a culinary delight. Each box contained roughly 100 paper cups filled with the stuff. But fortune, it seemed, had not entirely abandoned them. Deeper within the wreckage, they unearthed the flight rations, a treasure trove of significantly more palatable fare. Steaks, potatoes, canned vegetables, bread, butter, salt, pepper, sugar, canned milk, even a few precious cookies, and 2 massive cans of peanut butter. A feast compared to the pemmican. They had enough to sustain them for a while, and the pemmican, they hoped, would see them through the bleak winter months if rescue remained elusive. The fresh food, buried beneath the snow where the galley once stood, required laborious excavation. The recovery of sugar became a peculiar exercise in survival, licking it from the snow and separating it by taste. The crew also discovered a small 2-burner stove amongst the emergency supplies, a potential lifeline. However, it was useless without fuel. Fortunately, some fuel remained in the plane's tanks. Tapping into one of the lines, they secured a supply that promised to last a considerable time. The burners were kept burning constantly, a vital source of heat to melt the endless supply of snow. This laborious process yielded precious little water. 15 or 20 pots of snow were needed to produce a single cup. After 3 days of relentless winter, a shift occurred. The clouds parted, revealing a clear sky and the bright, life-giving sun. From their vantage point, they could make out the distant ocean shimmering below. Their exploration of the wreckage continued, yielding more essential supplies. Additional sleeping bags, a camera with film to document their ordeal, a sled for transport, and a life raft designed to accommodate 9. Days blurred into an endless cycle, the sun never dipping below the horizon. Adding to their woes, a flock of brazen, hungry seagulls descended upon the wreckage, their presence a constant, irritating reminder of their isolation. To stave off despair, the crew turned to a familiar pastime, a Navy game called Salvo, a strategic battle of wits where players hunted and sank each other's hidden ships. They also used the camera to capture images of themselves and the wreckage from various angles, preserving a record of their struggle. The radar man, with a somber purpose, used yellow paint to inscribe the names of the deceased crew members onto the airplane's wings, a desperate plea for recognition by any potential rescuers. On the 13th day, a flicker of hope ignited. A rescue plane appeared in the sky. The crew erupted in a frenzy of shouting and waving, desperate to attract the pilot's attention. But the plane continued its trajectory, disappearing into the distance. 2 agonizing hours later, it returned. Robbins, seized by a desperate urgency, grabbed fuel and ignited a nearby pile of flammable debris. The resulting explosion singed his eyebrows, but it achieved its purpose. The plane banked sharply, its wings waggling in acknowledgement. The pilot dropped a weighted note containing crucial instructions. If you can walk to the lake, make a circle. If not, form a straight line. The lake lay 10 miles away, a significant distance for a weakened and injured crew. But they knew they had no choice. They formed a circle, signaling their readiness to be rescued. The arduous journey began. They carefully secured the injured pilot atop a sled, cushioned by sleeping bags. Robbins, using a compass salvaged from the plane, attached it to the sled's handlebars, guiding their path. 3 men strained to pull the sled, while another walked behind, ensuring they stayed on course. The snow was a relentless obstacle, often swallowing them up to their waists. The going only improved when they reached solid ground, but it still took them a full 24 hours to cover the 10 miles to the lakeshore. As they neared their destination, a thick fog descended, obscuring the rescue plane from view. But the pilots, aware of their plight, started the engines, and the crew followed the sound. Soon, 2 rescuers appeared. Imagine the scene. Survivors clinging to life on a desolate raft, their ordeal far from over. Brave locals risked their own lives, paddling out to the rescue plane through treacherous waters. They hauled the exhausted men aboard, and the aircraft soared into the sky, bound for the safety of the Pine Island. From there, the rescued airmen were transferred to the USS Philippine Sea, finally on their way home. For 6 of the 9 who had crashed on Thurston Island, a new chapter was about to begin. It's a stark truth. Some say it's less risky to transport someone to the International Space Station than to attempt an emergency evacuation from Antarctica during the brutal winter months. So, if you're drawn to the life of an astronaut, but not quite ready to leave our planet, consider the path of an Antarctic explorer. The extreme conditions around the South Pole mirror those found on Mars. The record low temperature here plunged to nearly 2209 degrees Fahrenheit. Remarkably, this icy expanse yields more meteorites than any other place on Earth. And like the perpetual darkness of space, Antarctica experiences 6 months of complete darkness each year. NASA scientists leverage this unique environment to rigorously test space robots, meticulously design astronaut meal plans, and gain invaluable insights into the psychological challenges of long-duration spaceflight in complete isolation. The first intentional overwintering in Antarctica occurred in 1899. 10 souls huddled together in a tiny pinewood cabin, a space no larger than a modest two-bedroom home. Windows were sealed, the roof reinforced with sealskins. Massive coal piles anchored the structure, preventing the relentless winds from tearing it away. Despite the harsh conditions, all but one of the men survived that grueling winter. Remarkably, that humble hut still stands today, a testament to human endurance and the oldest building on the Antarctic continent. Today, Antarctica boasts over 40 permanent research stations, operating year-round, and approximately 60 additional facilities used during the warmer months. In the summer, the population swells to nearly 5,000 researchers. Their accommodations are a far cry from those early days of sealskin shelters. Take Belgium's Princess Elizabeth Station, a marvel of futuristic design. Sunlight and waste, heat from occupants and equipment keep the station warm. Clad in gleaming metal, it's built upon solid rock foundations with walls over 1.5 feet thick, composed of 9 layers of materials like wool, paper, and wood. Inside, a comfortable 68 degrees Fahrenheit is maintained, even when the outside temperature plummets to a bone-chilling 58 degrees. This eco-conscious facility utilizes wind turbines and solar panels for power, generating more energy than it consumes. Brazil's Comandante Ferraz Antarctic Station resembles a themed hotel rising in 3 distinct levels. The uppermost section, towering at 30 feet, houses bedrooms, dining facilities, and comfortable living spaces. The middle level, nearly 20 feet high, is dedicated to scientific experiments and essential maintenance activities. The lowest section, approximately 8 feet in height, serves as a storage area and vehicle parking garage. Video conferencing rooms, libraries, and lounges are also found within. Crucially, the station's height can be adjusted to compensate for temperature fluctuations and ice melt, ensuring the safety and comfort of its inhabitants. This design minimizes the environmental impact on the surrounding wildlife. Another intriguing example is Britain's Halley 6 Antarctic Research Station, resembling a robot from a science fiction film like Star Wars. Composed of 8 interconnected modules, the station rests on towering legs, allowing winds to scour away accumulating snow, preventing it from becoming trapped. The base is equipped with sled-like runners, enabling the entire station to be relocated as needed. This mobility is vital, as the station sits atop a massive, slowly moving glacier, inexorably drifting towards the sea. The sled system allows regular repositioning, crucial for ongoing atmospheric studies and other critical research. It is the first fully relocatable research station of its kind. Not all scientists reside in research stations. Some choose to live in tents on the ice for extended periods. Imagine a world of endless ice, where the wind howls relentlessly, and blizzards trap explorers for days on end. In Antarctica, sometimes half the time is spent stuck inside their tents, as fierce winds whip up blinding snowstorms, blocking exits and creating a sense of isolation akin to exploring the vast emptiness of space. But even in this extreme environment, the necessities of life remain. One practical question arises. How do these explorers manage bathroom breaks when venturing far from the research stations? There are no standard restrooms out on the ice. Instead, necessity breeds ingenuity. Some teams utilize specialized tents dedicated to this purpose. Others construct makeshift privacy screens from snow blocks or even build small igloos. However, a strict rule governs everything. All waste, without exception, must be collected and transported back to the research station. The Antarctic Treaty System, a set of international agreements, mandates this stringent protocol, recognizing that even human waste can disrupt the fragile local environment. At the end of each research season, All collected waste is carefully packed into special containers and shipped back to the explorers' home countries, ensuring that nothing remains behind to contaminate the pristine Antarctic wilderness. Fresh water, another essential, is obtained through various methods. In the past, a laborious process was required involving shoveling snow and ice into large tanks, then melting it using heaters. Today, many stations have adopted a more efficient approach, pumping water from meltwater lakes that form during the brief Antarctic summer and storing it in heated facilities. On average, a single station consumes between 2,000 and 4,000 gallons of water daily. To conserve this precious resource, showers are often limited to a mere 3 minutes. And when water supplies dwindle, showering may be restricted to every other day, or even every third day. Constructing new buildings on the Antarctic continent presents formidable challenges. Imagine dealing with snowdrifts that can bury a one-story building, winds raging at 85 millimeters, with even fiercer gusts, and temperatures plummeting to unimaginable lows. The harsh weather conditions limit transportation to a mere 12 weeks each summer, meaning that some construction projects can take years to complete. Even storing materials is a logistical nightmare. Space is limited, and the weather is unrelenting. Most supplies remain housed within their shipping containers. And for temperature-sensitive items, specialized heated storage containers are employed. Architects must therefore embrace innovative designs, striving to minimize the quantity of building materials required. India's Bharati Research Station offers a prime example of resourceful construction. It's built from 134 shipping containers. These containers were initially used to transport materials to Antarctica and were then ingeniously incorporated into the structure of the base itself, encased within a specially insulated shell to maintain warmth. Looking ahead, scientists are exploring the possibility of constructing Antarctic bases that rely minimally on external materials. In 2009, David Garcia, from a Danish company, proposed the Iceberg Living Station, a visionary concept for a base with numerous rooms large enough to accommodate 100 people, carved directly into the compact snow or icebergs that calve off the ice shelf. Consider the experience of a group of scientists from diverse nations who spent 26 weeks together at the Rothera Research Station. Among them were Americans, an Icelandic mechanic, Germans, Scots, and even a Welsh speaker. With satellite phone calls being prohibitively expensive, they had limited contact with their loved ones back home. For companionship, they had only each other. With limited recreational activities, their days were filled with conversation. They would discuss everything during work breaks and while playing pool, but mostly the wild weather and the ever-present icebergs. English served as their common language. Over time, something unexpected occurred. Their accents began to subtly shift. Initially, they were unaware of the change, but they were unknowingly participating in an experiment where their voices were regularly recorded. They repeated a set of 29 basic words, such as food and coffee. When these recordings were analyzed by a team in Germany, it became evident that their pronunciation was evolving. A new accent was beginning to emerge. The pronunciation of the O sound in words like flow and disco shifted from the back of the throat to the front of the mouth, a subtle but undeniable transformation. Now, language is a constantly evolving thing. 6 months might not seem like much, but in isolated communities, significant linguistic shifts can occur surprisingly fast. When people are in constant contact, they unconsciously mimic each other's speech patterns. It's a subtle form of social bonding. This very phenomenon may shed light on the divergence of American and British English over the centuries. Think of the passengers on the Mayflower, isolated on their voyage and then settling in a new land. Want to sound like you've spent a winter in Antarctica? Here's a quick primer on some polar slang. Fodplot means picking up trash. Fod is short for foreign object debris. If someone says it's a dingle day, that means clear blue skies. A smocko is a break for tea or coffee. Gonk means sleep, and one of the best, fox hat, refers to movie night at the base. But let's journey back millions of years to meet a true titan. Imagine a creature longer than a school bus, outweighing a herd of elephants. This was the megalodon, Carcaracal's megalodon, a predator of immense scale. Where did this giant roam? How did it achieve such colossal proportions? And why is it absent from our modern oceans? The megalodon was, without doubt, the largest shark that ever lived, a true apex predator in every sense. Its domain spanned nearly the entire globe, excluding the frigid polar regions. The absence of megalodon teeth discoveries in Antarctica suggests that these giants favored warmer tropical and subtropical waters. Juvenile megalodons likely patrolled coastal shallows, while fully grown adults ventured into deeper offshore environments. How do we know their distribution was so vast? Fossil discoveries, stretching from Denmark to New Zealand, paint a clear picture of a truly global predator. The reasons behind the megalodon's immense size are still debated. Recent research indicates that megalodon individuals didn't all reach the same maximum size. This may be linked to Bergmann's rule, which posits that ambient temperature influences body size, dictating whether an animal needs to conserve or dissipate heat. Megalodons inhabiting colder waters likely required greater body mass for insulation, while those in warmer regions remained smaller to prevent overheating. What did this prehistoric leviathan actually look like? Popular depictions often portray it as a greatly enlarged great white shark. However, this might not be entirely accurate. The megalodon likely possessed a shorter, more flattened snout and a more powerful jaw compared to its modern cousin. Interestingly, it may have shared a trait with modern blue sharks, elongated pectoral fins. These massive fins would have been essential for supporting its enormous weight and maneuvering through the ancient oceans. Furthermore, female megalodons appear to have been significantly larger than their male counterparts. Even newborn megalodons were giants, measuring over 6 feet in length. How do we know this? Paleontologists have identified several megalodon nursery sites in locations like Panama, Maryland, the Canary Islands, and Florida. And what about the most terrifying aspect of this beast? Its mouth. A predator that preyed on whales needed an enormous gape. Scientists estimate the megalodon's jaws could open to a staggering 9 by 11 feet. To put that in perspective, it could have swallowed 2 adult humans side by side. That incredible maw was armed with 276 teeth. Based on modern reconstructions, based on the sheer force of its bite, the megalodon, Carcaracal's megalodon, must have been one of the most formidable predators ever to stalk the oceans. To put it in perspective, a human can generate a bite force of roughly 1,300 newtons. Impressive, but hardly earth-shattering. Modern great white sharks, fearsome hunters in their own right, are estimated to be able to clamp down with a force exceeding 18,000 newtons. Yet, the megalodon dwarfed even this, boasting a bite power potentially 10 times greater. It could have effortlessly crushed a car as if it were a tin can. And then, there were those teeth. Much like sharks today, the megalodon possessed an extraordinary ability to rapidly replace damaged or worn teeth. Imagine a mouth armed with 4 or 5 rows of razor-sharp teeth, constantly replenished like a conveyor belt. Broken or missing teeth would be replaced within a mere 48 hours. Over its lifetime, a single adult megalodon likely grew and shed thousands upon thousands of teeth. This constant regeneration is a boon for paleontologists. The abundance of megalodon teeth in the fossil record allows us to study this incredible creature in detail. To fuel its colossal body, the megalodon needed to consume an estimated 2,500 pounds of food each and every day. Hard to visualize? That's roughly equivalent to devouring 1¼ cows daily just to survive. Or if you prefer, imagine having to choke down 3,300 cans of tuna every single day. The name megalodon, as I've mentioned quite a bit, originates from the Greek and translates to giant tooth. Those clever Greeks certainly had an eye for the obvious. However, the full scientific name of this apex predator is Carcaracles megalodon. But the question that lingers in the depths of our imagination, are these gigantic predators truly extinct? While the prevailing scientific consensus leans heavily towards extinction, let's consider the vast unknown that lies beneath the waves. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest recesses of our own oceans. A mere 15% of our oceans have been explored. What ancient leviathans might still lurk in those unexplored abysses? Consider the Mariana Trench, the deepest oceanic trench on Earth. Its deepest point, the Challenger Deep, plunges so far down that Mount Everest could be submerged within it and still have over a mile of water above its peak. That's an unfathomable depth. If a megalodon or two needed a place to disappear, the Mariana Trench would certainly offer the ultimate in discreet hideaways. However, the Mariana Trench is far from a comfortable habitat. It's a realm of perpetual cold and absolute darkness. Temperatures hover around a frigid 36 squeezer year-round. And to compound the challenges, the pressure at that depth is 1,000 times greater than at sea level. If any megalodons were to be found dwelling in the Mariana Trench, their teeth and bones would likely be in a rather deteriorated state. The immense pressure within the Mariana Trench causes proteins and calcium to dissolve and disintegrate. This is why the Hodel snailfish, the deepest dwelling fish known to science, has evolved flexible cartilage instead of bones. To survive in such an environment, a megalodon would need to adapt to total darkness. This might involve developing bioluminescence or evolving enormous eyes, similar to those of a giant squid. While the idea of a surviving megalodon lurking in the deep makes for a thrilling movie concept, most scientists deem it highly improbable. Their reasoning centers on the megalodon's size and dietary needs. The megalodon's preferred prey typically inhabits shallower waters, not the crushing depths of the deep sea. Experts argue that if these colossal sharks still roamed our oceans, we would undoubtedly have detected their presence. After all, they would need to surface occasionally to feed. Ultimately, it is the shifting dynamics of the food chain that most likely sealed the megalodon's fate. While some speculate that a drop in ocean temperatures contributed to their extinction, the predominant scientific view points to changes in their food sources as the primary cause. Perhaps a decline in its preferred food sources played a significant role in the megalodon's demise. Imagine a world where the massive baleen whales, the megalodon's primary prey, become increasingly scarce. At the same time, picture the oceans teeming with more and more competitors, smaller, faster predators such as great white sharks and killer whales, all vying for the same resources. The megalodon, Carcharical's megalodon, reigned over the oceans for an immense span, far outstripping our own time on this planet. They dominated the seas for approximately 20 million years, a period nearly 70 times longer than modern humans, Homo sapiens, have existed. Our species only emerged around 300,000 years ago. The megalodon's unparalleled size was key to its long survival. These colossal sharks could feast on almost any marine creature of their time. Although we might consider both dinosaurs and megalodons as prehistoric creatures, they never shared the Earth simultaneously. The dinosaurs vanished approximately 66 million years ago at the end of the Cretaceous period. Megalodons appeared later, with the oldest known fossils dating back to the Miocene epoch, which began roughly 23 million years ago. Farewell, Meg. But did you know that NASA's explorations extend beyond the stars, planets, galaxies, and black holes? Believe it or not, this agency also dedicates resources to discoveries right here on our home planet, Earth. So, what astonishing find has NASA unveiled recently? Could it be evidence of life thriving beneath the ice? Recent data analysis has led to an unbelievable discovery hidden beneath Antarctica's icy expanse. This revelation not only transforms our understanding of Earth's entire water system, but could also provide valuable insights for the search for life in space. The very survival of humankind may hinge on unraveling the secrets held within Antarctica. These recent findings offer crucial information for our future. But before we delve deeper, let's test your knowledge about this land of endless ice. Antarctica, one of the world's 7 continents, resides in the southern hemisphere. It ranks as the 5th largest continent, almost twice the size of Australia. Fancy finding real meteorites? Antarctica is the place to go. Its exceptionally dry climate makes it an ideal location for astronomical observations. What's even more remarkable is the abundance of meteorites scattered across its white surface. Scientists have already collected around 45,000 meteorites from the ice, and they estimate that another 300,000 await discovery. The scarcity of terrestrial rocks in Antarctica makes spotting these dark-colored space rocks relatively easy. The continent's arid, desert-like environment also aids in preserving these meteorites, even those that landed on Earth over 1 million years ago. And would you believe there's volcanic activity in Antarctica? It's a place where fire meets ice. West Antarctica is a hotspot for volcanic activity. Recent studies have identified 138 volcanoes in West Antarctica alone. Incredible. While we typically associate Antarctica with extreme cold, its coastal regions can experience temperatures as warm as 10 degrees, 50 degrees. Have you ever wondered what Antarctica would look like without its icy blanket? Though it seems unimaginable now, the continent wasn't always covered in ice. This was the case around 34 million years ago. NASA has now provided us with the most accurate map of what lies beneath the ice, thanks to advanced computer simulations. The results were astonishing. The continent is far from flat. Instead, it features a landscape of valleys, rolling plains, and towering mountains. However, this was merely a prelude to their most significant discovery beneath Antarctica's ice. So, what did they find? A drum roll, please. NASA has identified 2 previously unknown subglacial lakes. And what's truly remarkable is that these lakes were detected from space. How did they manage that? If you guessed high-tech satellites, you're absolutely right. Back in 2003, NASA launched a groundbreaking satellite called IceSat, Ice, Cloud, and Land Elevation Satellite. Its mission? To meticulously measure the ice sheet mass balance and analyze cloud and aerosol heights with unprecedented accuracy. Crucially, IceSat played a pivotal role in creating the first comprehensive ice-free map of Antarctica, revealing the hidden contours of the land beneath. Then, in 2010, the European Space Agency joined the effort, launching Cryosat-2. This sophisticated satellite was specifically designed for tracking even the slightest changes in the thickness of polar ice, providing vital data on the effects of a changing climate. Not to be outdone, in 2018, NASA launched IceSat-2, a state-of-the-art successor to the original IceSat spacecraft. This cutting-edge satellite boasted the most advanced Earth-observing laser instrument ever created. Its primary task was to measure ice sheet elevation and sea ice thickness with unparalleled precision, delivering the highest resolution data ever obtained. When combined with the data from its predecessors, IceSat-2 made it possible to pinpoint the location of those 2 previously unknown lakes, nestled near a pair of larger, established subglacial lakes. But how can these lakes exist beneath miles of solid ice? The average thickness of the Antarctic ice sheet is approximately 1.2 miles. That's over 6,300 feet of solid ice. In some areas, particularly during the frigid winter months, it can reach depths of over 1.8 miles, an astounding 9,500 feet. It seems impossible that liquid water could exist under such immense pressure and cold, but science reveals a different story. Though imperceptible to the naked eye, the colossal weight of the Antarctic ice sheet causes it to slowly but constantly flow in various directions. For years, scientists struggled to understand the dynamics of water movement beneath the ice, but a breakthrough came in 2007. Data collected by the original IceSat provided the first real insights into what lies hidden beneath the frozen surface. Researchers discovered an intricate network of meltwater lakes interconnected beneath Antarctica's fast-flowing ice streams, hundreds of them, all interacting in a complex dance. Helen Amanda Fricker, a glaciologist at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, realized that the subtle elevation changes measured by IceSat were directly linked to the behavior of these subglacial lakes. These lakes weren't simply static reservoirs of meltwater. Instead, they were continuously filling and draining through a complex system of subterranean waterways. As they filled, the ice above would rise slightly, and as they drained, it would subtly sink. And where did all that water ultimately go? The ocean, of course. And it's a tremendous amount of water. A recent study co-authored by Fricker revealed that the drainage of a single subglacial lake could flush as much as 198 billion gallons of fresh water into the ocean in a mere 3 days. Countless mysteries about the workings of our planet remain unsolved, but the discovery of these new subglacial lakes offers a valuable window into the future. Scientists hope to gain a clearer understanding of how rapidly the Antarctic ice sheet will respond to a warming climate, and how this, in turn, will impact global ocean currents and sea level rise. The cyclical filling and draining of these lakes also inflicts damage on the ice sheet itself, causing cracks and crevices to form. By studying these new lakes, researchers can gain insights into the structural integrity of the ice and how it's being affected by these dynamic processes. This research will also help scientists assess how the filling and draining system influences the speed at which ice flows into the oceans and seas, ultimately helping them to evaluate how the influx of fresh water may disrupt delicate marine ecosystems. Intriguingly, this discovery also raises the tantalizing prospect of life existing beneath the ice. In a separate study, scientists drilled through approximately 3,540 feet of ice and analyzed water samples taken from one of the subglacial lakes. The results were astonishing. The samples contained approximately 10,000 bacterial cells per milliliter. Such a high concentration of bacterial life is a promising sign, suggesting that these icy waters might also support more complex life forms, such as microscopic animals. Perhaps one of these newly discovered lakes is even home to a thriving, self-sustaining ecosystem. But perhaps the most exciting implication of this discovery is its potential to shed light on the possibility of life on other planets. Scientists speculate that any life existing beneath the frozen surface of Mars might follow similar patterns to those observed in Antarctica's subglacial lakes. There is a distinct possibility that these icy ecosystems hold critical new information about the potential for life beyond Earth, opening up a new frontier in the search for extraterrestrial life. Imagine standing on a world dramatically different from our own, perhaps even a Mars-like landscape, painted in shades of red and ochre. But hold on. Before you pack your bags, consider the bone-chilling winters. The coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth plunged to a staggering 128 degrees Fahrenheit. And, incredibly, in 2010, a new low was registered. A mind-numbing 135 degree Kelvin. That kind of cold would slice right through you, especially with the fierce, dry winds that often accompany it. Now, let's turn our attention to the colossal ice sheet of Antarctica. Did you know its size fluctuates dramatically throughout the year? During the brief Antarctic summer, the ice covers a mere 1.2 million square miles. But as winter descends, the ice expands to a mind-boggling 7.3 million square miles. That's an area larger than the entire continent of Australia. Despite this seasonal change, Antarctica remains the undisputed king of ice on our planet, dwarfing the Arctic. And what about the locals? Well, forget human inhabitants. Antarctica belongs to the penguins, those charming tuxedoed birds who waddle across the icy plains. They, along with seals and the majestic killer whales, Orcinus orca, are the true lords of this frozen realm. No single nation can lay claim to Antarctica. It's a land without a country, a continent governed by ice and wildlife. Believe it or not, you can visit Antarctica as a tourist. Brave souls venture there for fishing expeditions and scientific research. During the summer months, around 5,000 scientists and support staff populate the various research stations scattered across the continent. But when winter's icy grip tightens, that number dwindles to a mere 1,000. The Antarctic ice sheet holds a staggering 70% of the world's freshwater reserves. Just imagine the consequences if it were to melt entirely. Global sea levels would rise by an estimated 200 feet, reshaping coastlines and inundating countless cities. But let's journey back in time, roughly 34 million years ago. Picture this: lush coniferous forests and sprawling tundra stretching across the landscape. It's almost like a scene from Canada, but this is Antarctica. So, what transformed this green paradise into the icy wilderness we know today? The answer lies in a combination of factors: plummeting carbon dioxide levels and significant tectonic shifts. Around 50 million years ago, Carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere were incredibly high, hovering around $1,000 to 2,000 parts per million. As these levels decreased, global temperatures began to fall, setting the stage for the formation of the massive ice sheets that now dominate Antarctica. Meanwhile, tectonic forces were also at play. The separation of South America and Antarctica led to the opening of the Drake Passage. This, in turn, gave birth to the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, a powerful swirling river of water that effectively isolates Antarctica from warmer air and ocean currents. This current acts like a planetary bouncer, preventing warm air and ocean currents from reaching Antarctica, ensuring its continued icy existence. Interestingly, Australia and Antarctica share a deep connection. These two continents were once joined together as part of the supercontinent Gondwana. Speaking of Australia, let's turn our attention to its stunning pink beaches. These aren't just beautiful, they're also incredibly valuable. The source of their unique color is garnet, a gemstone widely used in jewelry. Geologists studying these pink sands have made a fascinating discovery. The garnet crystals are older than the local mountains. This seeming paradox is explained by Australia's ancient ties to Antarctica. Millions of years ago, when Australia and Antarctica were still connected, glacial erosion released garnet crystals from the trans-Antarctic mountains. These crystals were then transported to the South Australian coast, eventually forming the pink sands we see today. So, in essence, these sands are composed of fragments from an ancient mountain range, now largely hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. A truly remarkable journey through time, etched in grains of pink. Antarctica's icy expanse conceals more than just precious stones like garnet. Imagine, if you dare to look closely, you might discover entire structures buried beneath the frozen surface. It sounds like the stuff of fantasy, yet this is precisely what happened to a British explorer named Chris Brown. He stumbled upon an entire building entombed within the ice. Chris was on an expedition to reach the pole of inaccessibility, a remote and challenging goal. The adventure took an unexpected turn when their plane suffered a breakdown. It was then that they noticed a solitary bust protruding from the snow. This desolate location turned out to be an abandoned meteorological station. Despite the incredibly harsh freezing conditions, Chris and his son Micah were thrilled to explore the site. Chris is driven by a mission to conquer all 7 of Earth's poles of inaccessibility, and he has already successfully tackled 5 of them. Antarctica, as you may know, is the world's largest desert, dwarfing even the Sahara and the Gobi. Yet, despite its arid nature, this continent is home to a truly bizarre waterfall. Hidden within the captivating McMurdo Dry Valleys, this 5-story cascade appears to be gushing blood. Appropriately named blood falls, its appearance can be startling, even frightening. However, the explanation behind this crimson phenomenon is surprisingly simple. The water that creates this macabre spectacle originated as a saltwater lake. Over time, this lake became isolated from the outside world, sealed off by the formation of glaciers above. Now, this ancient water, trapped 300 feet below the surface, has become incredibly concentrated with salt, approximately 3 times saltier than the ocean. This highly saline water is also saturated with iron and completely devoid of oxygen and sunlight. When this iron-rich water seeps through a fissure in the glacier and comes into contact with the air, it oxidizes or rusts, resulting in the dark red coloration. You might have heard the misconception that no insect species inhabit Antarctica, but this isn't entirely accurate. A tiny Antarctic midge manages to survive in this extreme environment. Additionally, there are spiders present, although these are not the typical spiders you might find lurking in the corners of your home. These are unusual creatures that dwell in the cold darkness of the Antarctic ocean floor. These marine arthropods can reach impressive sizes, stretching up to 20 inches across. Adding to their strangeness, they breathe through minute holes located in their legs. What color comes to mind when you think of Antarctica? White, undoubtedly, is the most common association. However, the continent can, at times, resemble a slice of watermelon. This vibrant coloration is due to a resilient alga known as Chlamydomonas nivalis. As temperatures rise during the Antarctic summer, these algae release bright red and green spores, painting the snow with a kaleidoscope of colors. However, it's best to admire this spectacle from a distance, as the snow is toxic and definitely not safe to eat. The thrill of discovering fossils is always exciting, but when it occurs in one of the most remote locations on Earth, the experience becomes truly extraordinary. Recently, a diverse team of scientists struck paleontological gold, unearthing over a ton of fossils from ancient marine life, dinosaurs, and birds, dating back to the late Cretaceous period, approximately 71 million years ago. Their expedition began with a flight to South America, followed by a grueling 5-day journey through the notorious Drake Passage. Upon arriving in Antarctica, they established their camp with the aid of helicopters and inflatable boats. You may wonder why anyone would choose to excavate in Antarctica, given the abundance of ice. However, certain areas experience seasonal rock exposure. The team focused their efforts on James Ross Island, situated in the Antarctic Peninsula, conducting their work during February and March. This region is one of the few locations in Antarctica where summer temperatures expose the underlying rocks, offering a window into the past. Imagine drifting back through the eons, to a time when dinosaurs still roamed the Earth. Even rocks can whisper tales from that ancient age. A recent expedition proved incredibly fruitful, unearthing over a ton of truly remarkable fossil finds. Their journey isn't over, however. These precious relics will first travel to Chile for study, before finally making their way to the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh. Among the treasures discovered, some fossils are approximately 71 million years old, while others date back roughly 67 million years. These include a plethora of snails, clams, and diverse array of other marine creatures. And now, brace yourselves. Behold this unsettling sea worm. It looks like something straight out of a horror film, doesn't it? But instead of Hollywood, this creature calls the icy waters near Antarctica its home. These worms can grow up to 8 inches long and 4 inches wide. Yet don't let their frightening appearance deceive you. Research suggests that they might actually be unsung heroes, playing a crucial role in maintaining the delicate balance of their ecosystems. And that? Well, that's not actually a head. It's a retractable throat, complete with teeth, allowing this fearsome creature to efficiently devour its meals. Antarctica is full of such strange and fascinating critters. Allow me to introduce you to the Antarctic strawberry feather star. Don't expect to find a friendly face like Patrick from SpongeBob. This creature is more akin to something pulled from the depths of a nightmarish deep-sea horror movie. Imagine it, 20 wriggling arms, some stretching up to 8 inches long, all adorned with bizarre, bumpy protrusions. Yikes, indeed. Let's turn our attention back to 2014. Scientists then buried 34 seismic monitors in the snow of the Ross Ice Shelf, a colossal expanse, an ice slab the size of Texas, floating serenely above the Southern Ocean. These ingenious machines detected a nearly constant buzzing. While our human ears are typically unable to perceive these low-frequency sounds, scientists worked their technological wizardry to make them audible to us. They even shared this eerie audio online. A glaciologist from the University of Chicago likened the sound to a massive swarm of cicadas taking over a backyard in the late summer. But these glacier explorers weren't searching for spooky tunes. Their true mission was to monitor the Ross Ice Shelf because things are heating up, quite literally. The ice is melting faster than an ice cream cone on a sweltering summer day. Ice shelves serve as Earth's crucial safety mechanisms, preventing vast quantities of ice from surging into the ocean and raising sea levels worldwide. So, what is the origin of this mysterious noise? The most likely explanation is strong winds whipping across the icy dunes, creating a form of natural vibration. We've all entertained dreams of visiting the Arctic, witnessing the awe-inspiring spectacle of polar bears frolicking on ice floes, or the mesmerizing dance of the aurora borealis across the night sky. But unfortunately, you won't find hordes of tourists flocking to Antarctica anytime soon. Why, you might ask? Let's delve into the reasons. First and foremost, where exactly is Antarctica? It's situated in the southern hemisphere, nestled around the South Pole. The Southern Ocean envelops it, and the vast majority of the continent is buried under ice, rendering it one of the most isolated and frigid places on Earth. Have you ever personally encountered someone who has actually visited Antarctica? Probably not. It ranks as one of the least visited locations on our planet, and only a select few intrepid explorers have ever ventured into its interior, which predominantly consists of glaciers and sprawling ice fields. But trust me, the wildlife and the scenery are truly otherworldly. Why shouldn't you travel to Antarctica? Well, to begin with, the environment there is extraordinarily fragile and susceptible to damage. Furthermore, there are no native human populations residing on the continent. Therefore, any visit would essentially be akin to venturing onto an uninhabited island. And let's not overlook the fact that it's also one of the most expensive destinations to travel to. Despite the crushing cold and isolation, Antarctica isn't exactly a fortress, impenetrable and untouched. A crucial agreement, the Antarctic Treaty, stands guard over this frozen realm. Imagine the world's nations coming together, recognizing the fragility of this unique place. This treaty, a testament to international cooperation, was forged to prevent unchecked activity on the continent, specifically banning certain intrusive forms of exploration and testing by member states. But the primary reason we can't simply waltz into Antarctica lies in the delicate balance of its ecosystem, a web of life so fragile it demands our utmost respect. The treaty dictates that Antarctica must be reserved solely for peaceful endeavors, kept pristine and untouched by any human actions that could inflict environmental harm. Scientists still unravel the mysteries of this continent's unique ecosystem, a world unlike any other, and our intrusions, our machines, could shatter the delicate harmony that has existed for millennia. Even if you're determined to set foot on this icy land, securing permission is no simple task. For U.S. citizens, for example, the process involves completing a detailed form and submitting it to the Office of Ocean and Polar Affairs. And once you arrive, a strict code of conduct awaits, designed to safeguard the environment. Disturbing wildlife is strictly forbidden, as is the temptation to collect souvenirs, rocks, plants, or animals, reminders of a world we must strive to protect. Now, the question arises, could one actually live in Antarctica? While no explicit laws prohibit permanent habitation, the environment itself presents an insurmountable challenge. Temperatures can plummet to a bone-chilling 76 degrees, and even lower, making survival virtually impossible without specialized equipment and extensive experience. Furthermore, the nearest landmass lies over 1,000 miles away, effectively isolating any inhabitants from the rest of humanity. Perhaps one day we will have the opportunity to visit this extraordinary and captivating continent. But until then, let us admire it from a respectful distance, acknowledging its significance and the need to protect it. Let's turn our attention to the story of Antarctica's discovery. Unlike other lands already inhabited, Antarctica never possessed a native human population. The ancient Greek philosophers, with their insightful minds, had theorized about its existence, naming it Antarcts, meaning opposite the bear. However, the bears they referenced were not the polar bears of the Arctic, but rather the constellations of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, visible only in the northern hemisphere. Thus, the name signified the land opposite the realm of the bear. Imagine the whaling and sealing expeditions of the late 1700s and early 1800s, venturing further south as they rounded Cape Horn at the tip of South America. Sailors knew that heading south meant braving stronger winds, but also facing the peril of encountering floating ice of all sizes and confronting winds and seas that could endanger both ship and crew. Captain James Cook, a pioneer of exploration, became the first to cross the Antarctic Circle on January 17, 1773, venturing into the Ross Sea region. He reached a point even further south a year later. Though he never sighted land, he came within a mere 50 miles, spotting deposits of rock embedded within icebergs, a clear indication of a landmass lurking further south. The first confirmed sighting of Antarctica is generally credited to January 1820, during an expedition led by Captain Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen, commanding 2 ships on a 2-year voyage around the world, seeking to discover new lands. His ships were the first to penetrate the Antarctic Circle since Cook's voyages. However, The first undisputed landing on Antarctic soil didn't occur until much later, on January 24, 1895, at Cape Adare. This landing was part of a whaling expedition aboard the ship Antarctic, led by Henrik Bull. A small boat carrying 6 or possibly 7 men ventured ashore during a brief window of calm weather. Believe it or not, Antarctica is, in fact, classified as a desert. Imagine a world of endless ice, stretching to the horizon in every direction. One might picture a cheerful winter scene, complete with snowball fights and steaming mugs of hot cocoa. Yet, Antarctica presents a starkly different reality. While we associate deserts with camels, cacti, and a desperate search for water, this frozen continent defies expectations. Here, the challenge isn't finding water, it's finding anything that isn't covered in ice. Over the past 3 decades, the average rainfall here barely exceeds 0.4 inches. A mere scattering of droplets compared to the downpours we're accustomed to. The defining characteristic of a desert isn't scorching heat or towering dunes, but the scarcity of precipitation. So, should you find yourself adrift in Antarctica, thirst won't be your primary concern. Just be sure to pack a sturdy jacket and warm mittens, because the bone-chilling cold could turn you into a human popsicle. Antarctica isn't just one of the driest places on Earth. It's also the coldest, the windiest, and one of the highest continents. An overachiever in every sense of the word. The penguins and the research scientists who brave this wilderness face a unique temporal challenge. Unlike the rest of the world, Antarctica lacks a designated time zone. All the lines of longitude converge at the South Pole, creating a perplexing situation when attempting to determine the local time. How do these scientists and researchers manage to keep track of time in this temporal void? They generally adhere to the time zone of their home country. However, with research stations dotting the Antarctic Peninsula from nations across the globe, coordinating activities can become a logistical puzzle. Picture trying to communicate with a neighboring base without inadvertently rousing them from their sleep in the dead of night. One might assume that life struggles to exist in a realm of extreme cold, minimal sunlight, and gale-force winds that could sweep you away like a tumbleweed. Yet, as in so many seemingly inhospitable corners of our planet, life has tenaciously found a way. Believe it or not, this icy continent teems with activity. It serves as a habitat for billions of krill, tiny crustaceans that, in turn, attract vast numbers of seals and more penguins than you could count. But don't let their seemingly cuddly appearances deceive you. Penguins are supreme swimmers, possessing streamlined bodies that would inspire envy in Olympic athletes. They waddle ashore to breed and rest, but their true talents lie in pilfering pebbles from their neighbors and forming mathematically precise huddles for warmth. Antarctica also hosts the largest penguin species on Earth, the majestic emperor penguin, Aptenodytes forsteri. While these creatures are flightless, they are far from earthbound. Some emperor penguins can leap up to an impressive 120 inches. And let's not forget the seals. These furry marine mammals, protected by the Antarctic Treaty, thrive in the frigid waters of the Southern Ocean, serenading the icy landscape with their unique songs. But perhaps the most awe-inspiring residents are the whales. During the Antarctic summer, these colossal creatures arrive in massive numbers to feast upon the abundant krill. It's a veritable whale buffet down there. Now let's shift gears for a moment. Imagine this, September 23rd, 1880. A man named David Lang is casually walking across his fields in Tennessee when, without warning, he vanishes into thin air. The land around him is open and clear, devoid of trees, fences, or even a single rock. His wife and children watch in disbelief from their windows as he disappears, and 2 men in a buggy witness the same inexplicable event. Panic erupts almost immediately. Could it be a sudden, concealed sinkhole? Imagine a quiet field, bathed in the afternoon sun. A family is enjoying a peaceful day, when without warning, something utterly inexplicable unfolds. David Lang, a man in his prime, simply vanishes before their very eyes. One moment he's there, walking along, and the next, gone. Did the earth open up and swallow him whole? The family, in a state of utter disbelief, rushes to the spot where he stood just seconds ago. But the ground is solid, undisturbed. There are no holes, no signs of a struggle, not a single trace of where he could have gone. His distraught wife collapses, overwhelmed by the impossible reality. Search parties descend upon the field, combing every inch of the area. But their efforts are futile. No footprints, no disturbed soil, no answers to the baffling mystery. Days bleed into weeks, and weeks turn into months. The hope of finding David Lang alive dwindles with each passing sunrise. Then, a year later, a glimmer of the impossible. His young daughter, unable to accept his disappearance, stands on the very spot where he vanished and calls out to him, her voice filled with childlike hope. And then, it happens. A faint, desperate voice echoes from the void. "Help me!" The voice, barely audible, seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Help me!" it repeats, laced with a chilling desperation. The daughter runs to her mother, who also hears the eerie cry for help. For days they return to the spot, clinging to the hope that David is somehow still there, trapped between worlds. They listen intently, straining to catch the ghostly whispers that grow weaker and weaker with each passing day, until finally there is complete silence. Did some mysterious portal between dimensions open for a fleeting moment? And did David Lang inadvertently step inside? Was he caught in some tear in the fabric of reality, forever lost to our world? And here's where this strange tale takes another bizarre turn. Locals whisper of strange phenomena surrounding the spot where David Lang disappeared. Some say the grass grew unnaturally thick and lush, an almost vibrant green, yet insects and animals instinctively avoided it. Others swear that nothing ever grew there again, that the spot became a barren patch of land, forever cursed by the unexplained event. Whatever the truth may be, David Lang was never seen again. His disappearance remains an enigma, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond our understanding. Even today, some people avoid visiting the field, forever marked by the strange events. But don't lose sleep over it, as the story is most definitely just an urban legend. It looks like the whole story might have come from one well-known hoaxer from the 1880s who probably invented the David Lang story as part of a lying contest. Over time, the tale became a piece of local legend. Another mystical disappearance supposedly took place in Prussia. On November 25, 1809 in Perlberg, a man walked into an inn, ordered dinner, and vanished into thin air. It was Benjamin Beer, a British diplomat traveling under the alias Baron Deco. He was running away from Napoleon's spies. After writing for hours in a private room in the White Swan Inn, he stepped out and headed for his carriage. But when his assistant arrived moments later, Bauerst was gone. News of his disappearance didn't reach England for weeks, and when it did, his wife, Felita Bauerst, rushed to Prussia. Together with a search party, she was scouring a nearby river and every corner of Perlberg. Then strange clues began appearing. Bathurst's expensive fur coat worth a fortune turned up hidden in a stable. Weeks later, two old women scavenging in the woods miles from Perleberg found his pantaloons. A stable hand at the White Swan Inn, August Schmidt, became a prime suspect. His mother had stolen Bauerst's coat, and a woman from a nearby coffee house swore that Schmidt had chased after Bauerst that night. So he probably took the life of the British guest. But as a lump sum was offered as a reward, false leads and rumors flooded in, and it was harder and harder to learn the truth. Felita Bauerst refused to give up and went to Napoleon Bonaparte himself, hoping to hear some answers, but he denied that it had to do with him. To this day, Benjamin Bauerst's fate remains a chilling mystery. Writer Mike Dash, who did his own investigation of this case in 1990, came to the conclusion that people were just adding mysterious details to it over the years. In reality, someone just took Benjamin's life that night. Over a century after Benjamin's disappearance, in a completely different part of the world, a man named James Tedford stepped onto a bus, took his seat, and then somehow vanished into imagine a scene, an ordinary bus making its way towards Bennington, Vermont, on a seemingly normal December day in 1949. Among the passengers is a man named Tedford, returning home after a visit with family. Witnesses aboard the bus would later swear that he was present the entire journey, peacefully asleep in his seat. But what happened next defies explanation. As the bus pulled into Bennington, a chilling discovery was made. Tedford's belongings, his suitcase, an unfolded map, even his bus ticket, remained untouched on his seat. But Tedford himself had vanished into thin air. The last confirmed sighting of him was at approximately 4 p.m., a detail that will become eerily significant. This unsettling disappearance was not an isolated incident. Locals whispered of a Bennington Triangle, a region notorious for unexplained vanishings, a terrestrial counterpart to the infamous Bermuda Triangle. Between 1949 and 1950, a series of individuals disappeared under bizarre circumstances, their fates shrouded in mystery. Remarkably, Tedford's vanishing occurred almost exactly 3 years after the disappearance of Paula Weldon, a young woman last seen near the same area. It was again December 1st, and again around 4 p.m., when 18-year-old Paula left her dorm at Bennington College. She told her roommates she was going for a hike on the Long Trail. A local man later reported giving Paula a ride, dropping her off a few miles from the trail's entrance. She was wearing a distinctive bright red coat. Paula exchanged words with a few hikers before venturing alone into the vast wilderness. And then, she simply ceased to exist. Despite an extensive 4-week search by police and her distraught father, no trace of Paula was ever found. Rumors began to circulate that she had simply run away from her life. However, Paula's father believed something more sinister had occurred, suspecting a secret boyfriend who may have lured her away or even taken her life. But this was merely a theory, unsupported by any concrete evidence. Local Native American tribes held a long-standing belief that Glastonbury Mountain, situated at the heart of the Bennington Triangle, was cursed, inhabited by restless spirits. Could some unknown force, perhaps a Bigfoot-like creature, or something even more inexplicable, have been responsible for these disappearances? Strikingly, each disappearance occurred in the late afternoon, between 3 and 4 p.m. 2 of the missing individuals were wearing red clothing, and in no case was a body ever recovered. Some theorized that a single perpetrator was preying on the area, but the victims varied too greatly in age and gender to fit a consistent pattern. Others pointed to the region's rugged terrain and unpredictable fierce winds. But even the most severe winds could not explain the disappearance of a person from a moving bus. The mystery endures, a chilling enigma that continues to haunt the area. Fast forward to July 18, 2007. Barbara Bullock embarked on a familiar walk along her favorite trail in Montana's Bear Creek Overlook. She knew the trail intimately and carried a backpack equipped with food, water, and even protection against wild animals. She was accompanied by a family guest, Jim Ramaker. As Jim later recounted, their hike proceeded uneventfully until they paused for a snack and encountered 2 young men. After parting ways, Barbara walked just 20 or 30 feet ahead of Jim on the trail. Jim paused for less than a minute. When he looked up, Barbara had vanished. He frantically searched the trail, but she was gone, without a trace. Her backpack, her footprints, everything had disappeared. Jim immediately sought help, finding construction workers at the trailhead, but they had not seen her either. Rescue teams, deploying dogs and helicopters, meticulously searched every possible hiding place. But their efforts were in vain. Even the dogs were unable to pick up Barbara's scent. There was no evidence to suggest an animal attack, no signs of a struggle. While a fall into a crevice was a possibility, Barbara was known to be cautious around heights. And running away seemed unlikely, as she had left her passport behind. The opulent palace stood silent, its once bustling corridors now echoing with an unsettling emptiness. Inside, Kundi ID, a woman of noble lineage, had chosen to remain, surrounded by her cherished animal companions. Little did anyone know, this would be the last time she was ever seen. Days turned into weeks, and still, Kundi ID did not emerge. The once vibrant palace became shrouded in an eerie stillness, a monument to her vanishing. To this day, the circumstances surrounding her disappearance are shrouded in mystery, a puzzle that defies explanation, leaving behind unanswered questions and endless speculation, lost to the mists of time like a forgotten dinosaur fossil. The silence of the palace whispers secrets that may never be unveiled, a haunting reminder of the enigma that is Kundi ID.